Hello, Abundance of Hope community. We are here today as a start of a new video blog series. To start our 2019 year, we really want to connect more deeply with the community and to build more awareness about Abundance of Hope, our vision, and kind of the beliefs that inform our programming.
And our community partnerships and some of the experiences we've had while getting out into the community and doing outreach and networking and getting some of our programs out there. So I kind of want to talk about that.
Yes. So welcome. Our first video is going to be about 2018 reflections and 2019 projections.
So one of the first things that I feel like we should reflect about was just basically navigating the nonprofit scene. Like, I feel like a lot of people don't really have a huge insight into like what goes on the other side of nonprofits, where you're like reaching out for grants and you're solidifying partnerships and, you know, collaborations and networking and such like that. So I feel like it's important for us to kind of bring that to the forefront, because the nonprofit industry is overwhelmingly white. It's very white, very female, which, I mean, isn't a problem for it to be very female, but I feel like it's very problematic that it's super white. If we think about what nonprofits are even for, they're set in place to kind of combat the systemic oppressions, to you know, be that support system for oppressed groups. And if you are part of the oppressing group, you shouldn't be dominating that industry. Mm-hmm. And yet one of the hugest trends, and it's actually kind of created some barriers for us with navigating, is that the nonprofit industry is super white. And so, you know, there's that systemic racism in the nonprofit industry, and it affects the outcomes. It affects, you know, trying to get into the industry, and grants, and
who the cities and counties fund. It affects all that
exactly.
for their funding.
It's a whole deal. So I really like that we're doing this kind of vlog, because there'll be some transparency for us with being a nonprofit industry, Black woman owned,
leadership,
or not owned, but, you know, founded and run, and just kind of give that insight to our community and highlight why it is that it's so important for our community to support these Black-led initiatives, because the white-led initiatives are not able to really get to the root of the problem. And at the root of the problem, honestly, is them. So you can't be the problem and the solution. And that's just basically, you know, the biggest thing that I kind of took from it, honestly, from this year.
For me, I feel like this year was really big on building connections in the community. That's what I had a lot of fun doing. Just going to networking events, meeting the other Black-led organizations in our city, the grassroots ones and the ones that have been here longer.
Amazing people out there doing good things.
Doing everything that our community needs in a holistic, person-centered, lived experience way.
Well, I have to stop and say they're not actually doing everything our community needs, because we don't have the funding to do everything our community needs. A lot of the organizations we met have the lived experience and the educational background, but they don't have the funding.
Yeah, I should have added what I said. Yeah. I mean, they have the vision and they have the programming that is everything our community needs.
And the
investment.
Yeah, and the investments.
Right. So it was extremely exciting for me, just building the partnerships, meeting people, and just seeing how much our community genuinely cares. Yes. There are people out here who don't have 501c3s, who don't have the city behind them. They don't have any funders, and they're just doing something by themselves, or them and a couple of their friends got together. And, you know, now they have a name for their organization, but they've been doing it for years, you know. So there's so much love in our community.
Funny, because you just described Abundance of Hope Center, because that's basically what we've been doing. I mean,
that's
you know, out there in the community doing things out of pocket.
Yeah,
you know,
but we do have a 501c3, which is a whole process in and of itself. Honestly, we already know that we can make an impact without the 501c3, but obviously that helps.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's what we funded for, so it could be a big thing. I mean, we're doing big things on a small level when we can do bigger things on a bigger level and have a bigger, better impact on our communities.
That's
and
true.
I'm loving how I'm just using bigger, better, but that's kind of what it is. You know, we've
wanna
been
go
doing some
big,
things, but we
bolder.
want to do, we want to do more because we just can't afford to supply the need just on our incomes.
Absolutely.
And so can say that because we have a wonderful sponsor, a woman who came to our first program
Yes,
we
shout
gave,
out
and she's been with us ever since
D
then. Thank you so much, because a lot of times we wouldn't have made it through without this woman. So thank you, Dee. Shout out to you and for hanging there with us and believing in what we do to the point that you've sponsored us monthly from the day you've met us.
And that really brings us to allies too, because allies are super important. Like, they're essential basically to the entire process of unraveling systemic racism and getting to the point where we're not having to unravel it anymore.
Absolutely. And I want to kind of build on that, because another thing that I really loved about 2018 and that I want to carry into 2019 with Abundance of Hope is this allyship that we have between ourselves and these other organizations that we partner with, where we're really trying to disrupt that competitive narrative and make it more of a collaborative narrative, because it doesn't make any sense that we should be competing
And we're not crabs
when we're
in a
all
barrel.
just trying to help our community. You know what I mean?
Well, honestly, that's part of the politics, I guess, of the nonprofit industries. Grants are competitive. The funding is competitive. So they don't really foster those, collaborations. It doesn't promote it or really any of that, because it's all a competitive process. You're competing for small amounts of funding with hundreds of other organizations, and really that collaboration isn't even really a thought process, I don't think, for a lot of organizations. So, hey, let's collaborate, for this grant or whatever.
Yeah.
But obviously, also, the grant process is competitive, so it doesn't even support that.
Yeah, I mean, there is definitely some moves at the, city or county level to try to, get away from competitive processing, but it's still competitive even as they're trying to make it non-competitive. And we really, honestly, Black people don't have time to wait for those systems. It's too extreme for our community at this point, and it's historically been too extreme for our community. We have to come together. We have to act now. We have to trust one another. And for me, that just it is what it is.
And we really do, because I was thinking the other day, just about certain organizations that have been here for years historically, and they are at the point now where they really don't even need city and county funding because they have sponsors. And I was thinking, wow, well, these people came in with their communities backing them, and their communities backed them to kind of oversee us, as so to speak, because I'm noticing that a lot of people of color are the faces of the people who these organizations are servicing.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, even though the outcomes doesn't show that,
They're
doesn't
serving.
back this, that they
Right.
serve it yet. But they did, when they started their organizations, had the backing of their communities. Like, they had their churches behind them. They had the Girl and Boy Scouts and stuff behind them when they started their organizations. And with our organizations and even the other ones that we've met with the people of color, I've noticed we don't have that same backing because we're all more suspicious of each other. There's so much.
Well, that's really a byproduct of,
And it is, I understand
racism,
what it is,
basically.
but
That
if we,
social conditioning.
but we need to
racism.
come out of that social conditioning and
Absolutely.
pay attention to how they are lifting each other up. They're helping each other be in these positions of power to help
And to
others
maintain
in their
them.
communities and maintain them. And so that's where our collaborations come in, and that's why I'm excited when we do make partnerships, because like you said, we're not going with that same stereotype or what we were taught to believe. This is how you do things. We gotta do things a little bit out the box.
Absolutely.
Start looking at each other through lens of love, lens of
Right.
a shared experience, life experience,
And with the common knowledge that the box is actually a cage for our people.
Literally, that's
It is.
exactly what it is. And not to mention, what's in the box isn't any solutions that have actually been working. In fact, what I've been noticing is that there are more programs being out there on top of more programs on top of more programs, because the programs that are set in place actually don't work. They don't work for a lot of the homeless population. They don't work for the people that are suffering from mental health issues. They don't work for the people that are suffering from addiction. They simply don't work. And so what we see is the industry completely having to expand, but not in a way from we're coming with innovation. And we're expanding because, this whole thing worked. Now let's do something else. Let's tackle this other problem. No, we're sitting here tackling the same problem with the same solution
behind it
in a circle, and it's because we're not actually solving it industry-wise. Because the industry is dominated by
people who don't have the lived
issue.
experience, and they have no idea. Yep,
Again, if you are the issue as the oppressor, you cannot be the solution, because you
can be the solution if you fund the solution.
You can be a
and you
part
step
of it.
back.
You can be a part of it,
but you'll never be the
But
solution.
also,
Yeah.
the nonprofit industry isn't inclusive, right? We're at the executive level, so when we're over there and we're, meeting with advocates, we see black and brown faces. When we're meeting with even some project managers, we're seeing black and brown faces. But when we get to the programs director, when we're getting
gatekeepers.
the CEOs, when we're getting to the founders, the directors, it's
The
super white. The higher
and
up you
all
get in
this,
the chair, it's super white. And this
The
really
board
bothers
members.
me for this industry particularly, because, like I said, Black people started the nonprofit industry with the Black Panther Party and WIC, we started these social services, and now the industry is dominated by folks that we started this industry to combat the oppressive,
nature of.
It's literally their entire
and
oppressive
they
nature.
took it over and ran
And
with
so
it.
now this industry is dominated by people who don't know how to solve the problem. Obviously, we see that. This
you've
current
met them and
homeless
they told
issue.
you they don't. So.
Oh, right. Well, that too, but also,
And even worse, who don't trust the demographics and populations and communities affected to know what they need.
Well,
That's all part of that conditioning as well.
I have to stop you there. That's not true. I would say they know goodness well what the community needs. That's why not only have we been promised help from the city and the county levels, but then they don't follow through. We found out they've done it with a lot of organizations because they know our plans are workable. They know we know what we're talking about because we're coming to them with lived experience and education. We're not coming to them with we don't know what we're doing, but could you teach us and let us play with your money and we'll experiment it with. No, we've lived it, we've been there, we've done it, we've crawled out of that pit and came up out of it, and we want to pull up our babies and the other people in the communities with us. So they know.
Ashe. All right, let's move on to our projections because we done reflected.
That was a lot of reflection.
Absolutely.
So for projection, I project that we were really out here in 2018. We were able to bring a bunch of programming with our Denormalizing Violence panel discussion series, with our equity chats, with the Hope
Healthy
Shop,
Relationship Workshop.
Healthy Relationships. We did a ton of programming. We did the Equity Summit. I feel like in this new year, we will really be coming out even more. Like we've already showed our programming and we self-funded, so we kind of ran out of money. So basically in our new year, I project we will be making lots of profits. We have a lot of strategies to kind of increase profits for us in the new year to fund our initiatives, because like we said, that whole grant process, it's super competitive. It's kind of a catch-22 situation when you're a new nonprofit, because new nonprofits don't get grants when you're in your grassroots. They want to see that you have capacity and money already. So if you were trying to get money to get capacity and then you don't have capacity, so you're not getting the grants, it's catch-22.
And further, they want to give money to people they've already given money to before.
Right, exactly.
They want to give money to people they have a relationship with. And if you're new, that's just simply not you.
And also they want to give money, not really monies that support operations, so like salaries and things like that. Most of the grants are for specific programs, and supporting that program, which obviously some salaries is a part of that, but you still got to have some person to kind of manage the entire operation, and that's what those monies don't go towards. So basically, I project in 2019, we're not going to depend on grants. We're going to use our good old skills and go back to, the reason why we're even, the right person for the job, because we're going to do it without the grants.
Absolutely.
We'll find funding without the grants.
We'll make that dollar out of 15 cents.
Exactly.
Well, we've had a lot of practice.
So prosperity without having to rely on grants and city funding is what I project for us in 2019.
Yes. I also will project more community building, stronger collaborations and networks for our
amazing
youth.
partnerships.
I really want to get A of H homelessness prevention programming into the detention centers. We really want to bring more awareness to the full programming spectrum of Abundance Hope Center. We actually have 3 core programs: Inhale, Exhale, and Breathe. So far, we've only been able to do a very small portion of Inhale, so I would love to expand Inhale programming in the next year.
Yes, speaking of Inhale, Exhale, and Breathe, one of the ways that we plan to fundraise is through some amazing bath salts and body butter. So be on the lookout for that. They're kind of going to encompass the holistic, approach that we have and that whole holistic mantra. And it's going to be really great and nice scents and all for self-care. So be on the lookout for that, because I'm really excited about it. Exactly, all organic, just...
Another really exciting thing to look forward to in the new year, Happy New Year, by the way, is our Hope Shop. We're going to be doing more Hope Shop pop-up shops. So one of the things that's really important to Abundance of Hope and our holistic approach is addressing things like generational poverty. And the ways in which we do this is, one, through our programming, obviously, and with Hope Shop, we want to provide folks with nice clothing for cheap, because I stay in the thrift store, and so I've seen the prices rising, and I've noticed myself being able to afford less and less every time I go to the thrift store. And then at this point, the thrift store matches the prices of the regular store, which is not what it was intended to do. So, we then have you'll be at the thrift store and you'll see, a person in need being tackled and, manhandled for some shoes or for a hat or a coat. And
True story.
Yeah.
And it was literally absolutely disgusting. I was enraged because this unfolded in front of my toddler.
Right.
That's not something
and that should absolutely never ever happen. So Hope Shop is one of the ways in which we really want to combat things like generational trauma and poverty around shopping and clothing and presentation when it comes to Black and brown folks. And then another thing is, once Abundance of Hope Center is funded, we also do want to provide livable wages and competitive wages, so that the folks who are working with us aren't then having to depend on the very system that we're trying to combat. We don't want to contribute at all to systems of oppression, and that's just what it is.
Come from that, not
exactly
indulge in it. So
yeah.
Or further perpetrate, honestly. So yeah, that's basically it for me. It was a whirlwind adventure this year.
Yes.
And I'm really excited for 2019 because we're going to do so much great things. We've met so many amazing partners. So just kind of those collaborations to be on the lookout for.
Oh, definitely. And features maybe on our Facebook page or on our our Abundance of Hope
website. Yeah, absolutely.
Also, our fundraiser coming up in the spring. It'll be our second annual. I don't feel like anyone really knows about the first one because there wasn't many people there.
It was very small.
But hopefully we'll have a lot of people in, this year at our second annual spring cocktail fundraiser. It's going to be a great time.
Yes.
We'll have some great things to kind of raffle off.
Come ready to hope, rise, and thrive with Abundance of Hope.
Drinks, music, so, the whole turn up. But for a good cause.
Yeah.
Have a good time.
Absolutely. Building community and building relationship. So yes, Happy New Year. Welcome to Abundance of Hope video blog. We will have, I believe I'm going to tell you, weekly uploads. Just talking about different topics that are holistic and related or relevant to the Black community.
and homelessness and youth.
Yes.
Yes. I hope
FD told you. All right.
Ouchie.
Bye, community.
Bye.